More people will have probably heard of Harry Potter than any other single person outside of religious leaders.
Harry! Harry!
He knew what had to be done to make the production work, and was able to just plug in and do it.
Here's somebody about whom everybody is wondering two things. Can he really act? And what does he look like with his clothes on?
We're probably not going to see a picture of Emma Watson naked on the internet anytime soon.
He doesn't care. He's Rupert Grint, just like this regular dude.
A lot of Harry Potter fans were very concerned. The expectation of the whole franchise was hanging in the balance.
He is one of the most celebrated literary characters in history, Harry Potter, the boy from an alternate universe who turned millions of readers into obsessed fans.
Harry Potter is a worldwide phenomenon. The books have been translated into 60 different languages, and they're basically responsible for getting a whole new generation of children into reading.
I have two little boys, and I watch one of my sons fall in love with reading because of these books. It has brought the love of reading to millions of young kids, and I've seen it myself.
Few creations have inspired more devotion than Harry Potter's magical world of muggles, Hogwarts, and wizards. So when Hollywood agreed to turn these 7 novels into celluloid magic, the hopes of millions rested on the shoulders of the little boy chosen to wear Harry's glasses.
If you get Harry Potter wrong, then the franchise dies on its feet.
I think the love for the Harry Potter books was so profound and so obsessive that it made the responsibility to make the movies right even more demanding.
The quest to find Harry and his 2 best friends required one of the greatest talent searches in movie history. And when it was over, Rupert Grint was Ron Weasley, Emma Watson, Hermione Granger, and of course, Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter.
Daniel Radcliffe was in the unique position as a child of having to carry the whole franchise. If you don't pick the right Harry Potter, you don't have a movie series.
The 5 Harry Potter movies they star in have the distinction of being the highest-grossing film series of all time, with almost $4 billion in worldwide receipts. Harry Potter has also made its creator J.K. Rowling the highest-earning novelist in history, and the richest woman in England, worth over $1 billion, making her, by some accounts, even richer than Queen Elizabeth II. It all started in 1990, while Joanne, or Jo Rowling as she's known, was sitting on a crowded train from Manchester to London. It was during a 3-hour delay that Rowling claims the idea for the Harry Potter series simply popped into her head.
Harry sort of came to me fully formed, and I just thought it would be such fun to write. I got this enormous rush of excitement as I started to imagine what his world and what Wizard School would be like.
You know, at the moment, she was really hitting bottom. I mean, she was living by herself as a single mom. Her marriage had busted up. She didn't have strong professional prospects.
She decided she was going to just go ahead and write the book, and she would go sit in a cafe for a few hours and write longhand at one of the cafe tables.
For 5 years I was writing about Harry, and I never spoke about it to anyone except my sister.
She did something that is so rare among writers, and that is that she came up with a totally convincing secondary universe. It's sort of like with Tolkien. He came up with the Lord of the Rings, and he invented every little stick, every little flower, every little character, and Rowling had to do the same thing.
Rowling completed the first book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, in 1995, and immediately sent it off to prospective agents.
There is this thing called the slush pile. Every agent, every publisher has 7 feet of manuscripts, 7 feet high of manuscripts. Do they read it? Do they don't? She was lucky. Christopher Little read it.
The Christopher Little Literary Agency offered to represent her and sent the manuscript to potential buyers. At first, there were no takers. In fact, over the course of a year, 8 publishers rejected the manuscript until finally, a small company called Bloomsbury Publishing, with its office above this Chinese restaurant, offered a £1,500 advance for its publication. But as incredible as it may seem now, there was little indication then of the gold mine they were sitting on. The book's initial run was only 1,000 copies, with 500 books going to libraries. Today, those first editions are worth upwards of $50,000.
I think nobody could have anticipated that the books would become the kind of global phenomenon that they have.
This kind of success really surprised her. She didn't anticipate it, and it mushroomed as a phenomenon because it tapped into a lot of the things that the kids were interested in.
No word strong enough to describe how surprised I am, actually. I thought about 3 people would like it, including my daughter, my dad, and my sister.
But the big test would come in the U.S. Would Rowling's book about the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry capture the imagination of American readers in the same way it had for the British? Despite some initial skittishness from the American publisher, Scholastic, Harry Potter soon rose to the top of the New York Times bestseller list, clearly casting its spell on readers in the States. To date, this series has sold over 325 million books.
I think it's for people who have kind of gotten pushed to the side or overlooked while growing up. Maybe they weren't the coolest kid in school or the best athlete or the prom queen, and Harry Potter sort of brings out their inner child and is really able to relate to them on some level.
Hollywood wasn't far behind, and within 6 months of the book's American debut, Warner Brothers won the rights to the first 4 Harry Potter books for $2 million.
Warner Brothers is a great studio for franchises, from Superman to Batman. They really are able to not only create great films and get cool filmmakers to actually make the movies, but they do as good a job as any of creating hype and excitement about other products and projects related to the films.
Warner set a release date of July 4th, 2001, and immediately put out a casting call for child actors. The response was enormous.
When you cast a role like Harry Potter, you're casting a young actor who's going to have to go through 7 movies and who's going to have to meet the demands of a difficult business and millions of very demanding fans. You're taking a big gamble.
The biggest question now among the millions of Harry Potter fans around the world was, who would play Harry Potter?
The character is so well known, and people have so many ideas about it, that you have to put an actor into that role that does not challenge the expectations significantly.
It was a tall order. But in London, there was one little boy who knew early on that he was destined to play the role of Harry Potter. How that 11-year-old boy, named Daniel Radcliffe, was cast in one of the most coveted roles in motion pictures would soon be the stuff of legend. As remarkable as it seems now, some in Hollywood wondered if Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone could be successfully translated to the big screen.
I think there's a large degree of risk and fear in whether or not these great books could be successfully translated into great movies.
And J.K. Rowling, I think, in her defense, seemed to care enough about this story to make sure it was told the right way. Film history is littered with great books that were destroyed by the movies, or movies that were destroyed by being based on great books.
One thing was for certain. The movie's success, or failure, was going to hinge on the talent of the actor chosen to play Harry Potter. Steven Spielberg was lined up to direct, and wanted Harry Potter to be an animated feature with the Oscar-nominated American actor Haley Joel Osment providing Harry's voice. But Spielberg ultimately walked away from the project after Rowling nixed the idea and demanded that the principal cast be kept strictly British.
A Spielberg film would have been so nauseatingly sugary that it might well have killed Harry Potter dead first time round. What was so good, I think Rowling did have a very, very strong input, because it's many things, but it's not cute.
I think it was absolutely crucial that Harry Potter be a British child. I think J.K. Rowling was absolutely right about that. I think it would have been tremendously distracting if we'd been watching an American kid play Harry Potter and constantly monitoring whether he was maintaining his British accent.
With Spielberg out of the picture, Rowling was said to be partial to Terry Gilliam, whose wild cinematic imagination was displayed in such films as The Adventures of Baron Munchausen and Brazil.
I wish Gilliam had done one of the Harry Potter movies. He's a bona fide wild genius, and you have to wonder what he would have seen in the books that nobody else would have, because it was something. I mean, Gilliam is a dangerous director. He really works extreme emotions and extreme visual ideas into his movies.
But on March 28, 2000, Warner's chose Chris Columbus as director, citing his work on other family films such as Home Alone as the primary reasons for their decision.
When Chris Columbus was first chosen, a lot of Harry Potter fans were very concerned. And they were concerned because here was a book that they loved so much. And a lot of them had some misgivings about whether Chris would be able to reproduce the book and bring it to the screen and not make it too childlike. So Chris was under a lot of pressure on that first film. The expectation of the whole franchise was hanging in the balance.
The casting process for the first Harry Potter movie was enormous. There were about 40,000 kids who were seen for the 3 main roles.
When the filmmakers were first looking for their Harry Potter, they wanted a child who had some more complicated emotions going on, sort of behind the eyes, behind what was obvious, than is the case with some kids. They really could not have had a kid who just seemed, you know, blank or emotionally one-dimensional.
By mid-2000, the BBC reported that over 40,000 child actors had been considered for the roles of Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, and Ron Weasley. Finally, on August 21, 2000, Warner Brothers announced that Chris Columbus and producer David Heyman had chosen 11-year-old Daniel Radcliffe for the role of